Her family abandoned her at 5 for being defective. Now she is the Pax Luna.
Elara's small fingers clutched the edge of the worn blanket as she shivered in the cold night.
The wind whipped through the broken walls of the cabin, carrying with it the distant howls of wolves. Her heart pounded, not just from the biting cold, but from the words that had echoed in her mind all day. You are defective. We don't need you.
She was only 5. Only 5. And already her world had turned upside down.
Her own parents, the people who should have loved her the most, had thrown her out into the forest like a broken toy. She had begged, cried, and promised she would try harder, but it had not mattered. In their eyes, she was a mistake. Now, alone under the gray sky, with the moon hidden behind dark clouds, Elara had only herself to rely on. Her stomach ached with hunger. But even more than that, her heart ached with a terrible emptiness. She did not understand why she had been abandoned. Was it her size? Her strange, amber-colored eyes? Or something else she could not name? The forest was quiet, almost too quiet. Elara had learned to walk softly among the trees, listening to the rustle of leaves and the snapping of twigs.
Every sound could be danger, but every sound could also be a friend.
But she had survived the first night by hiding in the hollow of an old tree, and now she hoped to survive another. As she walked deeper into the forest, her bare feet bleeding on the sharp stones, a strange feeling ran through her. But curiosity. Something pulled her forward, like the wind itself was guiding her steps, and then she saw it. A shadow, large and imposing, standing between the trees.
Elara froze.
Her small body trembled as the shadow moved closer. It was not an ordinary animal. Breath. Its eyes glowed faintly in the dark, and its fur shimmered as if touched by the moonlight. The creature tilted its head, studying her, and for a moment Elara felt no fear, only a strange magnetic pull. "You are far from home, little one," a deep, calm voice said. It was not the wolf's voice. It came from a man standing just behind it. He was tall, his presence commanding, and his eyes were dark as the midnight sky. Yet even though he seemed dangerous, there was a softness when he looked at her. Elara wanted to run, but her legs would not move. Something about him made her want to stay. "You are not afraid?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "I am always careful who I approach," he said, his tone steady. "And you are different." Elara frowned. "Different? That's why my parents left me." The man's eyes softened, though a shadow passed over his face. "Perhaps they did not understand you, but I do." He stepped closer, and the wolf beside him padded silently. Its presence was comforting rather than threatening. Elara could feel the warmth of it, a strange reassurance that she had not felt since she was a baby.
"Who are you?" she asked, her curiosity growing stronger than her fear.
"My name is Kale," the man said, "and this is my pack. We watch over the forest. You belong somewhere. Perhaps here, with us, belong somewhere." She repeated, her voice trembling. "Das. I don't belong anywhere." Kale knelt down so his dark eyes were level with hers. "You do now." For the first time since she had been abandoned, Elara felt a spark of hope. She did not understand why the stranger believed in her, but she wanted to believe him too. The wolf padded closer and nudged her hand with its nose. Its fur was soft, warm, and real. Alara smiled faintly and reached out to stroke it. Its head rested gently in her small hands, and she felt a strange connection, as if it recognized her in a way she had never been recognized before.
You have a strong spirit, Kale said.
And that spirit needs guidance. If you come with us, you will learn to survive, to protect yourself. And perhaps one day you will protect others too. Alara's heart raced. Could she really leave everything she had known, even the pain, and step into a life with these strangers?
But the emptiness inside her felt heavier than any fear.
She wanted to belong, to feel that she mattered.
I will try, she whispered.
Kale nodded. That is all anyone can ask. From that night onward, Alara's life began to change. The pack welcomed her cautiously at first. Some members whispered behind her back, calling her defective and doubting she could survive. Others watched with silent curiosity, sensing something rare in her aura. Kyle trained her in the ways of the forest, how to move silently, how to read the wind, and how to listen to the whispers of the trees. Alara was small and weak at first, but her mind was sharp and her instincts were strong. She noticed patterns others missed, heard sounds others ignored, and felt emotions in the air that she could not name. Slowly, she began to feel capable, and with every small victory, the shadows of her past seemed to shrink. Yet she could not forget. Every night, when she lay beneath the stars, she thought of her parents and the words they had spoken. Defective. She wondered if they had known what they were giving up, or if they had been too blind with fear to see what she could become. Kale often watched her from a distance during these quiet moments. He saw the pain and the determination in her amber eyes. He had seen many leave the forest in tears, never returning, but something about Alara made him believe she was different. There was a fire in her that even abandonment could not extinguish. One evening, Kale led her to a hidden glade deep in the forest. The moonlight filtered through the trees, casting silver shadows on the soft moss. Here, he said. The pack performed rituals to honor the spirits of the forest and to strengthen their bond with one another. You will see things here, Kale told her. Things you might not understand at first, but they are part of you, as much as the forest is part of me. Alara nodded, though her heart raced, but she felt as if the forest itself was alive, whispering secrets she could almost hear. That night she lay awake under the trees, listening. And then something extraordinary happened. A soft glow appeared at the edge of the glade, hovering like a small star. Alara felt drawn to it, and as she stepped closer, she realized it was not a star at all, but a small wisp of energy swirling and alive. When it touched her hand, a shiver ran through her body. It was not painful, but it was powerful, as if something inside her had awakened for the first time. Kale watched silently. Breaths. Your gift is awakening, he said softly. This is what made your parents call you defective. They could not see it for what it truly is. Alara pulled back, both frightened and awed.
I don't understand. You will, Kale said.
In time, you will learn to control it, and when you do, you will see that being different is not a curse, it is a strength. For the first time, Alara believed him. She did not yet understand her power, nor did she know the full extent of her abilities, but she felt a seed of hope planted in her heart, a hope that she could be more than a mistake, more than a defective child left in the forest. She could grow into something extraordinary. As the night deepened, the forest around them grew quiet, save for the distant howls of wolves. Alara looked up at the sky. the clouds parting slightly to reveal a pale moon. For the first time, she felt she was not alone. She belonged somewhere, even if she did not fully understand how yet. But just as sleep began to claim her, a chill ran down her spine. In the shadows of the trees, she thought she saw another figure watching her, silent and unreadable. Its presence was heavy, almost menacing, and a strange voice echoed in her mind. "Defective!"
Always defective. Ilara's eyes snapped open.
Her hands clenched into fists. The pack's sanctuary felt both safe and fragile now, as if danger was always just beyond the light of the moon. Ayal placed a steady hand on her shoulder. "Do not fear it," he said quietly. The forest speaks in many ways. Some of its voices are meant to warn, some to guide. You will learn to listen carefully and to know which to trust. Ilara nodded, her amber eyes reflecting both fear and determination. She had survived abandonment, hunger, and the loneliness of the forest. Breaths. She would survive this too. She had no choice. But somewhere deep in the shadows, the figure watching her retreated, leaving only a faint whisper in the wind. We will see if the defective girl truly belongs. Ilara curled under the blanket Kale had given her, pulling it tightly around her small frame. Tomorrow, she would learn more. Tomorrow, she would continue her journey. But tonight, she let herself dream of belonging, of strength, and of a life she had never thought possible. A life that might one day make her more than just a defective girl. The forest sighed around her, alive with secrets and whispers. But in that sigh, Ilara felt the stirrings of something extraordinary, something powerful, something that might one day define her destiny. And so the journey of the girl who was cast aside began. Alone, afraid, but with a spark inside her that could not be extinguished. The forest had changed for Ilara since the night Kale had found her. No longer was it a place of fear and loneliness. Its whispers felt familiar now, almost like old friends. But though she had begun to feel safe, she knew her journey was only beginning. Every morning, Kale would guide her through the forest, teaching her how to move silently through the underbrush, how to listen to the wind, and how to read the faint signs animals left behind. Her small hands and feet learned to move with precision, and her mind learned to notice details that others overlooked. "You have a gift," Kale said one morning as the sun peeked through the dense canopy of trees. "Not many can feel the life of the forest as you do. You hear what others cannot, as you sense danger before it comes. That is why you survived when others might have perished."
Ilara nodded, but a shadow of doubt lingered in her amber eyes.
I just want to belong,"
She whispered.
"I want to be strong, like you." Kale studied her silently for a moment. Then he smiled faintly. "Strength is not only in the body, Ilara. It is in the heart and in the courage to keep going when everyone has abandoned you." Those words lingered in her mind as she trained. She was small, weaker than most of the pack members, but her determination was unyielding. By day, she grew stronger, not just in body, but in spirit.
The pack watched her with growing respect.
Breaths. Some of the younger wolves were curious, following her quietly to see how she learned from Kale. The older members were cautious. They remembered her as the defective girl, the one abandoned by her family, and some doubted she could ever live up to her new place in the pack. But Ilara did not care. Her past had taught her one thing clearly. Only she could define her worth.
It was during a quiet afternoon in the forest that Ilara first noticed her true abilities awakening.
She was practicing running silently along the riverbank, stepping over roots and stones, when she heard something that made her pause. A low growl echoed from the trees ahead, faint but filled with menace. Her instinct sharpened, her heart racing, and she focused. Through the leaves, she saw a shadow moving, a figure much larger than any wolf she had seen. Its eyes glowed with a cold light. Before she could move, the figure lunged toward a young wolf that had been watching her from the side. Without thinking, Elara threw herself between them. Her hands glowed faintly in the fading sunlight, a warm, pulsing light she had never noticed before. The shadow recoiled, hissing, and then vanished into the forest. The young wolf looked at her with wide eyes, and Elara felt a surge of pride. She had protected him, and had done something she could not explain. Kale appeared behind her, his dark eyes calm but alert. "Your power is growing," he said quietly. "Break. You felt the threat and acted before it could harm the pack. That is why you are different. And why you are important." Elara looked at her hands, still glowing faintly. "Breaths. I don't understand it," she whispered. "Why me?" Kyle knelt down beside her. "For helping us. Because the forest and the pack have chosen you. Not by accident. Sometimes those who are abandoned are the ones meant to protect what others cannot. You were cast aside so that you could rise stronger than anyone expected." The words warmed her, like sunlight through the cold mist of her past. For the first time, Elara felt that her so-called defects might be gifts. As the days passed, Elara's confidence grew. She trained not only with Kale but also learned from the elders of the pack. They taught her about pack history, about rival clans, and about ancient curses that haunted the land. She listened carefully, absorbing every story, every warning. Yet despite her growing skill, Elara often felt the weight of being watched. Some members of the pack still whispered in secret, questioning Kale's choice to bring her in. They doubted she could survive the dangers that awaited them beyond the safety of their territory. But the deeper Elara went into the forest, the more she realized she did not need everyone's approval. She only needed to prove to herself that she could face danger, endure pain, and protect the people she had come to love. It was during one of these days, while walking along the cliffs at the edge of the forest, that Kale finally spoke of something that made Elara's heart race. "The pack will face a test soon," he said, his voice grave. "There are others who will come for us, rivals who desire our land and our strength. You will need to be ready." Elara felt her pulse quicken. "What will I need to do?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady.
"You will lead," Kale said simply. "Perhaps not now, but soon."
"And when the time comes, your courage and your heart will be tested."
The weight of his words sank deep into her chest.
She had survived abandonment, hunger, and fear, but the idea of leading a pack, of protecting them all, felt almost too much. Yet beneath her fear was a spark of determination that she had never known before. She would not fail. Days turned into weeks, and the forest seemed to embrace her more with every step. Her bond with Kale grew as well. He was strict and commanding, but also patient. He never forced her to act before she was ready, but he guided her firmly when she hesitated. Elara noticed the subtle ways Kale watched her, the way his eyes lingered on her when she practiced, the small nods of approval when she succeeded. But though she did not understand the feeling entirely, a warmth grew in her chest whenever she saw him look at her that way.
One night, Kale led her to a hidden glade under the full moon.
The elders had prepared a ceremony to honor her growing role in the pack. Candles glowed softly, and the air was thick with the scent of pine and wild flowers. The wolves circled them silently, their eyes reflecting the moonlight.
Elara!
Kale said, his voice deep and calm. Tonight, the pack will see that you are more than the girl abandoned in the forest. You are strong. You are brave. And you are part of this family. Elara swallowed hard, her heart pounding. She knelt in the soft moss, feeling the cold ground beneath her hands. One by one, the elders approached, placing their hands on her shoulders, their eyes filled with respect and quiet awe. As the ceremony continued, the forest itself seemed to respond. The wind stirred the trees gently, and a faint glow surrounded Elara, almost as if the forest recognized her strength. She felt a surge of power within her, calm yet intense, and for the first time she knew that she was truly part of something greater than herself. But just as she felt a sense of belonging, a sudden chill passed through the glade. A dark shadow flickered at the edge of the ceremony, moving silently among the trees. Alara's instincts flared. Kale noticed immediately. "Stay close," he murmured, his hand brushing against hers. His touch sent a shiver through her, not from fear, but from something she could not name. The shadow paused, and then, with a hiss, it disappeared into the darkness. Elara's heart raced, and though the elders tried to hide their concern, she could feel their tension. Someone, or something, watched us tonight. Kyle said quietly. This is only the beginning. Danger will come for this pack, and for you. But remember, Elara, you are not alone. Elara nodded, gripping her hands together. She had survived abandonment and fear, and now she had the pack, Kale, and her own growing power. She would not let anyone or anything take that away from her. As the night deepened, Elara stood at the edge of the glade, looking up at the moon. Its pale light shone down on her, and she felt a connection she could not explain, a sense of destiny that stretched far beyond the forest. She was no longer the defective girl left alone at 5, perhaps. She was becoming something stronger, something rare, a protector, a leader, a Luna in the making. And somewhere deep in the shadows, beyond the trees, a pair of cold, unblinking eyes watched her. They had felt her power awaken tonight, and they would not forget. Elara's journey was far from over, and the challenges that awaited her would test every ounce of courage she had. But for now, as she looked at Kale standing beside her, steady and unwavering, she felt hope. She had survived abandonment, hunger, fear, and now she had a purpose. And she would rise to meet it, no matter what the darkness might bring. The forest was quiet that morning, yet a tension lingered in the air. Elara walked beside Kale, her small hands brushing against the soft moss that covered the ancient stones. Birds sang faintly in the distance, but even their songs seemed hesitant, as if sensing the unease that had settled over the pack. Elara had grown stronger, faster, and smarter over the months since she had been taken in. Her instincts were sharp, and her amber eyes noticed everything: a broken twig, the distant rustle of leaves, a shadow that moved too quickly. But even with all her growth, she could not shake the feeling that something was watching them. Not a wild animal, not the forest itself, but someone within the pack. Kale noticed her unease. "Trust your instincts," he said quietly. "They will guide you. But do not let fear control you."
Elara nodded.
She had learned to listen to Kale's words, to focus her mind and control her emotions. Yet the nagging feeling of betrayal refused to leave her heart. Days passed, and a series of strange events began to unsettle the pack. Food supplies went missing, messages from neighboring packs were intercepted, and minor skirmishes broke out along their borders. The elders whispered behind closed doors, their faces drawn with worry, but none spoke openly of what they feared most. Elara watched closely, her mind working like a web. connecting threads that others overlooked. One afternoon, she followed a shadow moving near the supply storage. From behind the trees, she saw one of the pack's trusted warriors sneaking out with stolen provisions, handing them over to a figure cloaked in darkness at the forest edge. Her heart pounded. Betrayal was here. Someone she had grown to trust was helping their enemies, risking the lives of the pack she had come to love.
Elara ran back to Kale, urgency in every step. Kale!
Someone is stealing our supplies. I saw them. Kale's eyes darkened.
He glances around in desperation. "Let me to them," he said. His voice was calm, but the tension in his body betrayed his concern.
They moved silently through the forest, shadows among shadows, until they reached the edge of the clearing. There, the trader stood with a hooded figure, exchanging food and maps. The moment Kale stepped forward, the cloaked figure vanished into the trees, leaving only the traitor behind.
You, Kale said, his voice low and sharp.
Explain yourself. The warrior bowed his head, but there was no shame in his eyes. The pack is weak, he said calmly. The Alpha cannot protect us forever. You should step aside before it is too late. Elara felt her blood run cold. Step aside, protect the pack. The very person they trusted most was speaking against Kale, plotting against the one who had taken her in and shown her care.
You are wrong, Elara said firmly, stepping forward.
Kale has kept this pack safe. You will not betray him.
The warrior's eyes narrowed. And who are you to speak, child? He sneered. You are still just a girl despite what Kale has taught you. Elara's amber eyes flared. I may be a girl, but I am the Luna. I will protect this pack, and I will not let you destroy it. The words surprised even herself. They carried a weight she had not felt before. A mix of courage and anger that came from years of being cast aside. Kaal placed a hand on her shoulder, steadying her. Do not act rashly, he said softly, but stand your ground.
You are stronger than you know.
The warrior laughed, but it was sharp and hollow. You will see soon enough. Power will change everything, even the loyalties of the pack.
Kale's eyes hardened.
We shall see. But know this, anyone who betrays this pack will face the consequences. The warrior bowed his head in defiance and vanished into the forest, leaving only a tense silence behind. Elara's heart raced. She had faced danger before, but this was different. The threat came from within, from someone who knew the pack's secrets. Over the next few days, Elara's position within the pack became more complicated. Some members admired her courage, seeing her as a rising force of protection. Others whispered doubt, questioning whether a girl, once abandoned and called defective, could really hold the strength to face betrayal. Elara tried not to let it bother her. Instead, she focused on training, on learning more about her powers and on preparing for the challenges she knew were coming. Kale often found her practicing alone under the moonlight, her hands glowing faintly as she concentrated. He did not interrupt, only watched silently, a mixture of pride and concern in his dark eyes. You have grown, he said one night, his voice soft as they walked through the forest together. But there is more to learn. You must control your powers, or they may consume you at the wrong moment. Elara nodded. I will. I promise. I will protect the pack, Kale. He looked at her for a long moment.
And yet, there is more than physical threats. Trust is fragile.
Hearts can break, and even the strongest can be deceived. You must learn to see clearly, not just with your eyes, but with your heart.
Elara frowned, thinking about the traitor. Could she trust anyone fully?
The thought made her chest ache, but she pushed it aside. She had survived abandonment before. Oh! She could survive this too. It was during a quiet night, as the pack slept under the silver moon, that the real test came.
A howl echoed through the forest, strange and terrifying. Alara's senses went sharp instantly.
She felt the forest itself shiver, as if warning her of danger. Kale was at her side in a heartbeat. Breath. Something is coming, he said. We must protect the pack. The traitor had returned, but this time with a group of outsiders. They moved silently, shadows among shadows, surrounding the pack's stronghold. Elara's heart pounded as she realized the full danger. They could attack at any moment.
Kale turned to her. Stay close. Use your instincts. Protect those who cannot protect themselves.
Alara nodded, feeling the weight of her responsibilities. She had trained for this, and now the moment had arrived.
But she could not fail. Not now, not ever. The attack came quickly, breaking. Figures emerged from the trees, their movements precise and cruel. But the pack was ready. Elara moved among them, glowing hands striking at anyone who threatened her family. She felt her power surge like a river, wild and unstoppable. Al fought beside her, his strength and skill unmatched, but he was injured when a blade grazed his arm. Elara's heart leapt with fear, but she did not falter. She channeled her power, a warm light that pushed back the attackers, driving them into retreat. When the battle ended, the forest was silent again. The pack was safe, but Kale's injury reminded Elara of the cost of betrayal. The warrior she had seen with the outsiders was gone, but she knew this was only the beginning. That night, as Kale rested and the elders tended to their wounds, Elara sat under the stars, her hands glowing faintly from the energy still pulsing through her. She had faced danger, betrayal, and the shadows of those who would harm her family. And yet she had survived. For the first time she understood what it meant to be the Luna, not just to protect her, but a beacon of strength and courage for the pack. Her heart ached with pride, fear, and hope all at once. Kale approached her, sitting beside her quietly. You were remarkable, he said softly. Tonight, you saved the pack. You have proven your strength, not just your power, but your heart. Elara looked at him, her amber eyes filled with emotion. I was scared, she admitted, but I could not let them hurt you or the pack. Kale placed a hand over hers, steadying her. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is moving forward even when you are afraid. And you have more courage than anyone I have known. Elara's chest swelled with pride, but also with a sense of caution. She knew the forest still held dangers, and that the traitor's betrayal was not fully resolved. The fight had tested her, but it had also taught her that true strength came from trust, courage, and heartbreak. Casting golden light through the trees, Elara rose. She looked over the pack, their faces tired but filled with quiet respect. They had seen her fight, her courage, her determination, and she had seen their faith in her grow. The forest seemed to whisper around her, carrying the echoes of the battle and the promise of future challenges. She was no longer just the girl abandoned at 5. She was the Luna, the protector, the heart of the pack, and the one who could face shadows without faltering. But even as she felt her power and confidence grow, a distant shadow stirred beyond the forest, watching and waiting. The traitor was only the beginning. Greater dangers, darker shadows, and harder choices lay ahead.
Elara clenched her fists, amber eyes blazing.
She would face whatever came next. She would protect her pack, Kale, and herself. And she would rise, stronger, braver, and unbroken. The sun rose slowly over the forest, casting golden light across the treetops and misty valleys. Elara stood at the edge of the pack's stronghold, her amber eyes scanning the horizon. The past months had been filled with danger, betrayal, and fear, but also growth, courage, and discovery. She had survived abandonment, trained under Kale, and faced the shadows that sought to harm her family. Yet today felt different. The air was thick with an almost magical tension, a heavy sense of destiny. Somewhere beyond the mountains, something ancient stirred, a presence that carried darkness and power. Elara felt it deep within her chest, a shiver that spoke not of fear, but of challenge. Kale approached quietly, his armor gleaming faintly in the morning light. "The forest speaks to you," he said softly. "You feel it, don't you?"
Elara nodded.
"Something is coming. Something... Bration." Kale placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then we will face it together."
You are no longer the girl abandoned at 5. You are the Luna of this pack.
Your strength, courage, and heart will guide us through whatever comes. Elara took a deep breath, letting the weight of his words settle. They had trained, prepared, and survived before, but the challenge awaiting them was unlike anything they had faced. The air around them shimmered faintly, as if the forest itself held its breath. That evening, as the moon rose high, a chilling howl echoed through the mountains. It was not the howl of any ordinary wolf. It carried a dark resonance, a power that made the ground tremble slightly underfoot. The pack's members gathered quickly, alert and tense. Kale addressed them, his voice strong. "The curse has awakened. The ancient darkness beyond the mountains moves towards us. We will need every ounce of courage and strength to survive." Elara stepped forward, her hands glowing faintly in the moonlight. "I am ready," she said, her voice steady. "We will protect the pack. I will not let anyone, any shadow, harm them." Breaths. The elders exchanged glances, a mixture of awe and relief passing among them. They had watched Elara grow from the abandoned, defective girl into a capable, powerful Luna. Tonight, she would lead them not just with her abilities, but with her heart. The first wave of shadows emerged as night deepened. Figures cloaked in darkness moved like smoke among the trees, approaching the stronghold with silent menace. Their eyes glowed red, and the air around them was heavy with magic. Kale turned to Elara. "This is it." "Stay close. Trust your instincts. Trust your power." Elara nodded. Her amber eyes flared, and a warm, pulsing light radiated from her hands. She felt the forest responding, the trees bending slightly as if lending their strength to her. With a deep breath, she stepped forward, standing between the pack and the encroaching darkness. The battle began swiftly. Shadows lunged at the pack, but Elara moved with precision and power. Her hands glowed brighter, pushing back the creatures, creating a barrier that protected the younger wolves and the elders. Kale fought beside her, his strength unmatched, yet he relied on Elara's guidance, knowing her instincts were sharper than anyone else's in this fight. One shadow surged toward Kale, faster than the eye could follow. Elara acted instinctively, sending a wave of energy that threw the creature back. Kale glanced at her, eyes wide with admiration.
You are extraordinary!
He called over the chaos. Elara felt the words strengthen her.
betrayal and doubt before. Tonight she would not fail.
She would rise, fully embracing her destiny. But then, from the darkness, a figure emerged, larger, older, and more menacing than any creature she had seen.
Its eyes glowed an unnatural black, and its presence radiated a cold, ancient power.
The forest around it seemed to darken, the leaves twisting as if recoiling in fear. Elara stepped forward, her light flaring brighter than ever. "You will not harm my pack!" she shouted, her voice carrying over the roar of battle. The creature hissed, a sound that shook the ground beneath them. "Child, abandoned, cast aside, defective, yet you glow with power." Brask. "How amusing," it said, its voice like grinding stone. Elara's chest tightened, anger and fear mingling.
I am not defective. I am the Luna.
And I will protect everyone I love.
The creature lunged, and the battle intensified. Shadows clashed, magic and light colliding in bursts that shook the forest. Elara felt herself pushed to her limits, her strength and skill tested like never before. But with each wave of darkness, she grew more focused. She remembered Kale's teachings, the pack's trust, and the years she had spent surviving and growing. She was not the abandoned girl anymore. His blade striking true, but the creature's power was overwhelming. It struck him down, and Elara's heart froze. She ran to his side, feeling a surge of emotion that transformed into raw energy. Her hands glowed with a blinding light, stronger than she had ever felt. "You will not win," she shouted, her voice echoing through the forest. "I am not a mistake!" The light expanded, engulfing the shadows, forcing them back, and illuminating the forest with a warmth that banished the cold darkness. Breaking. The creature screeched, staggering, its power challenged by the purity and strength of Elara's heart. In that moment, she realized the truth. Her so-called defects, her unusual eyes, her small stature, her sensitivity to the forest, were the very gifts that gave her strength. They had shaped her, taught her, and prepared her for this battle. She embraced them fully, letting her light shine through every fear, every doubt. The creature faltered, its darkness recoiling, and with a final surge of energy, Elara sent it retreating into the mountains, its hiss echoing faintly like a promise of return. The shadows fled, and the forest sighed in relief, the danger finally abating. Kale rose slowly, his wounds tended by the elders.
He looked at Elara with awe and pride.
"You have done it."
You have saved the pack. Elara's chest heaved with exhaustion, but a smile crossed her face.
"We did it. Together." The pack gathered around, their eyes filled with respect and gratitude. No longer did anyone whisper doubts or question her place. She had proven herself, not only as a fighter but as the heart and soul of the pack. She had transformed fear into courage, abandonment into strength, and darkness into light.
That night, as the pack celebrated quietly, Elara stood beside Kale under the full moon.
The forest was calm, peaceful, and alive with soft whispers that seemed to praise her courage. She felt a sense of belonging she had never known before. Cal reached for her hand and she took it, feeling the warmth and trust between them. "You have grown beyond anything I imagined," he said. "Not just in power, but in heart. You are more than the girl abandoned at 5. You are the Luna, strong, brave, and unbroken." Elara's eyes shimmered with emotion. I am still learning," she said softly. "But I will never stop protecting the pack. I will never stop trying to be worthy of this place." Kale smiled faintly. "You do not need to prove your worth. You have already shown it in every choice, every action, Every heartbeat, the forest seemed to hum around them, a gentle, approving sound that filled the air. For the first time in her life, Elara felt whole. The years of fear, loneliness, and rejection had forged her into something powerful, something extraordinary. She was no longer a child cast aside. She was a protector, a leader, and a beacon of hope for everyone she loved. But even as she felt triumph and peace, she knew the forest still held secrets, the mountains still held shadows, and the journey of the Luna was only beginning. She had faced the ancient darkness, but the world was vast, and destiny often held trials yet unseen. Elara looked up at the moon, its silver light illuminating her amber eyes. She knew that no matter what challenges came next, she would face them with courage, heart, and unyielding strength. She was the Luna, strong, brave, and no longer afraid. Breath, and in the distance the forest whispered, carrying the faint echo of a howl. A reminder that life, like the forest, moved in cycles of light and shadow.
Elara smiled softly, ready to meet whatever came next, knowing that she was no longer the defective girl abandoned at 5.
She was whole, she was powerful, and she was finally home.